Welcome, and then as Brett Papa would say, welcome. We are live Friday night. We are this week. I am super. What the? Okay, so me and Steve haven't really talked a lot, and now he just shows a hammer. What? All right, let's start out this though. Get it out in the open so that everybody knows what to expect this week. We got a lot to talk about. I am more excited about today. I wish we had a bigger audience, but that'll come soon. I got to look into the analytics and do some things and get more and more people watching this. But I am super excited because Steve, we were talking about some transcribing stuff. He was transcribing something. I'm still on the Shane Theriot kick. We're going to call this the Shane Theriot podcast soon.
It's the Shane Theriot podcast. I mean, literally, like,
yeah.
He could just start every now and then hopping on and, you know, putting his little catchphrases out there.
Yep.
And
it's going to start going. It's going to start going into the Dan Huff pod. I know once I get into that, that's going to be an endless thing too. The Michael Landau thing, Michael Thompson. There are a couple guys that, and then the Henderson. When I go back to Henderson, I'll be locked into him with Tribal Tech for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Jason Becker, blah blah blah. Anyway. So right now we're on a Shane Theriot kick, and I've been transcribing so many things. I have on my screen right now, I think there's 4 videos with maybe 6 licks that I transcribed this week that I think are absolutely unique and fantastic. I'm going to show them here in a few seconds so that you can get a taste of it and know what to stick around for. There was also a challenge I gave Steve, 1 lick, because he was transcribing a video of Shane, and he's like, he said basically, oh man, this took me a couple days or whatever it took, a couple, whatever. And he's like, I've been working on it for a little bit and it's pretty simple. You'd probably get through it within 10 minutes or whatever. And I laugh when he says that, but it's just, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been transcribing. My ear is, I don't have the greatest ear, but I am very adept at understanding things quickly so that I could transcribe them as quickly as possible and then get into the nuances and blah, blah, blah. So he was transcribing something and, I said, dude, there are certain ways that are a little easier to make you. I mean, I know Steve's ear. I know he can play. He plays like a monster. And I know he learns a lot of this stuff because he went to music school, but he has a good ear. And I think he belittles his ear because sometimes transcribing can be a little frustrating. But I know it's a lot. He can make this a lot simpler on himself. So I was like, you know what? Let's do a lesson on. I'll show you the lick that you were transcribing. I won't even transcribe it. I'll do it live. I'll embarrass myself. And I'll show you the steps I go through to get to where I get to. And then on my walk, I was doing notes in my phone. I was like, okay, you got to talk about this. This is the easiest way to start transcribing. This is the easiest way to start learning licks, whether it's simple pentatonic licks or chromatic licks or intervals and understanding all these things. This could be a 10-hour discussion we're going to do tonight. So this is my thing for anybody who's watching. While we're going through this, we're going to kind of steamroll through it. If you have any questions, please, in the comments, post, and we will look at those, and we'll talk about your questions, concerns, anything that you want. Also, if there's anything that you want to dive deeper into later in another podcast or in another individual thing, I'm going to start doing lessons, not just on Friday. I'm going to do them throughout the week or whatever. I might have my own live little things where anybody who wants to jump in for a free lesson, basically, can jump in. But you need to communicate that in the comments so we know and we see what the audience could possibly be. Either while you're watching this or if you're watching the post game after this is live for the next couple days, weeks. If you're seeing this and you have anything like this, just let us know in the comments and we will tailor this to you guys. So real quick, before we get to anything else, if there's any problems with the audio, I threw up so much stuff right now. I'm hoping everything's working. I think it's working. If there's sync issues or if there's audio dropouts or if I forget to put on my desktop audio and there's an echo, let us know as soon as possible so we can be reminded of it. You guys are our guardians. Thank you. And then before we get to Steve, I'm going to show you so I can tease everybody. These are the licks we're going to kind of go over. This is the first thing. It's called Shane Theriot. It's called Yerba Mate Blues. I don't know what album it's on because I haven't transcribed right now. I'm going to show my desktop, and then I am going to do my desktop audio. And this is one of the first licks. I got it on 50%. so good, so melodic, so many little subtleties, and then that fast lick at the end. There's a little melodic minor to tease you with that. Okay, so then the next one is going to be this guy. We're at 100%. Okay, so the beginning of that is just this dissonant kind of bluesy thing that's got so much grease and flavor to it. And then it gets into this wide interval thing that's really just a unique pentatonic thing. And then he slides into this really cool dissonant thing too. Okay, so those are the first two. This is the next one. Steve, let me... Oh, okay. And the rhythm part is really cool too. Let me turn. But there's a real fast lick. It's wide interval. Just that very beginning thing. There's some dissonant bends that add tension that are just so hard to get, and you're like, wait a second, what's he doing? And why does it even work? It's so good. Then that fast lick is just so cool. And it took me a long time to transcribe that because I transcribed it 3 different ways, and I was like, this isn't working. Then I found the way, and I was like, this makes sense why there's a break in a 16th note pattern, and it sounded like he was holding out a 16th note to give it like that jazzy deleted note kind of thing, give it a pause, a breath of a saxophone, but it's really shifting positions. And again, that's a transcription technique where you can tell without visual what's going on by a thing that happens, and it's not natural. And you're like, oh, but the pattern's here from here, and that's why that space happened. So one more time, this is what that sounded like. Okay, and then the last one is this, and this is the Shane. Steve actually played this lick. It's great. Your tone's great, Steve. Sounds good. The lick you transcribed well. There's a few notes missing, as always, because I'm an idiot and I transcribe everything in depth. The position that you're playing it in is a little different from what I'm playing it in, which none of it matters, but I think mine is a little more correct to what he plays because I know the style Shane plays and certain patterns and finger things he does, and they're just things that add to one of the notes that you're missing, and that's why I think it's this other way. And that corresponds with the notes that I'm going to talk about with understanding other players' habits too. If you're really an Eric Johnson guy, you know not just his pentatonic 5s and 7s and this and that, but where he switches positions, what he comfortably feels. So all these little things, bends, unison notes. So anyway, that is my spiel. I got to figure out where this one's song is because I had pulled it up, but I don't think I did pull it up. I need to get that up. So, Steve, what's going on with you while I do the Facebook thing and find this clip?
So we got a busy week planned. And listen, here's the thing, everybody. Dave is kind of humble about a lot of things. I've known Dave for well over 30 years. Dave studied with Shane. Dave studied with Carl Culpepper. He studied with Atlanta Institute of Music.
And if you don't know Carl Culpepper, he's a master transcriber. He was working with Hal Leonard, Cherry Lane. He studied under Wolf Marshall. So that's where I learned all my transcribing stuff.
I mean, Dave is the real deal here. So I mean, we're not. This is not one of those things where we're frustrated because we're only getting a few views. We understand it takes a while to build stuff. But what we think we have here is really cool, and we love the community. We love everybody that's kind of watching, but at the same time, we see channels that, and not to demean anybody, but I feel like, Dave is far more qualified to be teaching this kind of stuff than a lot of other people. I mean, more so. You've got the Levi's of the world who are, on the
Which he's fantastic.
yeah, but Dave and Levi are friends. So, like, he's on that same level. So, what I'm saying here is, Levi's got everything that he's got going on, but Dave's here. And I think this is a great opportunity if you just happen to hop on, or, if you're looking to kind of learn something new. And the genesis of this particular week was for me to, really engage more so with my weaknesses, because that's what we do as guitar players. We kind of focus on our strengths and the things that we do well, but I think you have to put yourself out there to get better. I think you have to put yourself in a vulnerable position, um, where sometimes there's uncomfortable truths. That's kind of what being a student is. And it's, they're not attacking the person, they're attacking, what's wrong. And so sometimes that can suck and it can hurt, but at the same time, again, it's not to attack or demean the person. So, I'm comfortable now, again, because I know Dave's my friend, and there's never really tough. There's never been tough love, other than, like, we text each other. We call each other dicks all the time. But
We're on a dick list. We have a
we
scale.
love, yes,
And I'm
but
still winning.
but the thing is that I think in order to become a better player, I feel like you have to put yourself into where you're uncomfortable. And so, I wanted to particularly kind of pick into Dave's knowledge. And this week, and I said to him point blank, I said, I'm terrible at figuring stuff out. And, you know, I know that my experience allows me affords me the ability to kind of figure things out, but I'm so much slower. And so, Dave kind of gave me this challenge. The genesis of this whole week really was, there's a Shane lesson that I had figured out a lick, and it took me literally 4 days. And I was kind of, self-deprecating and myself, and sent it to Dave, and it took me a while to figure out. But then there was three other licks, like, right after that, and then I like figured it out so much quicker. So, and Dave was right. He's like, he's been doing this stuff for 20 years, and this is all he does and kind of works on. So I do feel like, though, that the only way you get better, to kind of come back to this, is you really have to put yourself in a position where, if there's something you're not good at that you want to be good at, you really have to put yourself out there and make yourself vulnerable and open yourself to criticism. And that's really, I think, where the real knowledge and the real learning and the real playing will come from. And so for me, this is one of those things that I've been really aggressively working on. Obviously, we always joke that all I work on are triads and all that stuff, and really learning the notes. But um, those are all my weaknesses. I don't work on my strengths anymore. I know I can alternate pick. I know I have okay legato. I know I can kind of do some stuff. What I can't do, necessarily, are like, is improvise really seamlessly using triad chord tones, and really, really, like, if I'm being honest, I can fake my way through it, but I don't want to fake my way through shit anymore. And I went to school for music. I mean, I have a degree, but I feel like, if I'm being honest, those are things that I want to work on. So, that's the thing. So these Friday hangs, yeah, they're a way for me to Dave to catch up over the past week, but it's also a way for us to kind of, like, inspire each other, and hopefully, in the same breath, inspire you guys and build the community. Because let's face it, there's a community out there of guitar stuff, but it's a lot of bullshit, man. I'll be honest. Like, there's podcasts, and all they talk about is gear, and it's like, that's cool. Gear talk is great. And I know that the gear talk really overdoes anything where, like, the actual playing matters. But at the end of the day, like, we don't need 55,000 gear channels. You know, I'd rather watch a guy show, you know, how to do something more effectively.
I thought you were going to say you don't need 55,000 pedals, and I was going to scream, yes, you do.
Well, you do need the pedals, but you don't need 55,000 guys, you know, doing it. And I think, like, you know, I saw, again, like, I guess this is where I get to be a little bit of a dick. I'm not gonna, you know, shit on the guy, but there's a guy out there, and his whole channel is based on just collecting like low end gear, and his whole channel is for like buying low end gear. And I watch it occasionally. It's just interesting. But he can't play. He just can't play. Like, he can't play anything. And I'm sitting there going, like, how can I validate that as a purchase when somebody picks up a guitar and can't recognize?
Yeah, that's the hard thing. Like, when you get people talking, when they're like there were a few early on, and I got to check these videos out because it's been so long since we did. There was a channel I stumbled on that was two guys that couldn't really play, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. We're all at that stage, right? But they were doing a full-on production YouTube channel, and it looked great. Like, they had everything dialed in to be teaching stuff, and then they were teaching stuff, and it was so, like, they couldn't play the stuff they were teaching, which was like basic, like blues pentatonic, like a Hendrix lick or something. And they were bending out of key, a little sharp here, a little flat here. So now it sounds really out of key, and things were just a mess. They seemed like really nice guys, but somebody's going to stumble onto that channel, never playing guitar before, liking these people, liking the production value, and thinking, oh, I'm going to learn a lot from this guy. And there's other places that you'll get further quicker. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. Everybody's got to do what they enjoy doing. And I don't mind people that do any of this stuff. I just, even a few minutes ago, Steve, I've been trying to get him, and if you guys want to chat on here and get Steve to please plug his guitar in and get the tone. So because I want to, the whole point of this for me was, I love teaching and I love breaking things down, but I also wanted to exchange licks with somebody once a week, a friend of mine that I know likes similar things, and he's learning something different than I am, even though it's in the realm of what we both enjoy. I was like, oh, it'd be great. Every week he shows me a lick, I show him a lick. We got something different from what outside of the scope of what we're learning. So today he plugged in an amp or something, and he's putting it next to the phone. There's a little compression. It sounds better than his unplugged guitar. So we're getting there. But what was great is he fires it up, and he goes, let me see how this sounds. And he fires it up, and he plays like a run, and then he does this other thing, and he's just noodling, and it's just noodling, and it sounded so freaking good. Like the legato, he did this legato thing, and there was a little pivot note thing, and then it was picking, like it was all just, it was so smooth. Steve has the smoothest legato. He's got this John Sykesy vibrato he's been working on just inherently for 30 years. I mean, it's just beautiful. And his picking technique is not too harsh, and his legato is dynamically smooth across all fingers, so you don't get this weird, it just sounds great. And I forget how good he is because I don't get to hear him play much, right? So it's just, it's inspiring, it's fun, it's fantastic, and that's what we're doing here. And Facebook, YouTube, I just posted the things, the links or whatever. Please, anybody watching this, click the like button. I know it's silly to say, but that like button goes a long way. Comments help a lot. And let's get into this. We got so much to talk about. So enough praising each other. I love it. And let's get into the first. Let's get into a lick, and then we'll go back to my outline of what I think really helps people transcribe. So first of all, let me just show, which one am I going to... Let's go with this one. All right. This is a short one, but it's got so much meat to it. Okay. So again, this is a Shane tune called Buckshot, and it's a lick that starts at about 339, 340. It's towards the end of the tune, the last minute of the tune. And this is what it sounds like. Actually, this is the long one. I'm sorry. This has that long lick. Let me get to...
Dave, I'm going to switch to the YouTube view, so I'm listening, monitoring the chat. So I'm going to be a few seconds behind.
No worries.
I'll pick up when you're done. So just if you talk to me, I'm going to be kind of on the
delayed.
So I'll be,
okay, cool.
Yep.
All right. So this is the one we're going to go over right now because it's a little shorter, and then we'll get into some of the outline notes of transcribing and tools to use and things to think about and blah blah blah, and then we'll go into the really much cool. I mean, this lick is amazing. It's really short though. Okay, one more time. And just as a test, Steve, if you're hearing this, just as a test, I'm gonna clap my hands and tell me how quickly the YouTube video shows me clapping my hands. So here we go. Wow, that was didn't happen.
The thing is, no. I actually am watching and listening as a YouTube.
Yep. So, all right. So that experiment died. So basically, I was just trying to see as I'm doing this how quickly this is getting translated and uploaded to YouTube, but it doesn't matter. So here is what we're going to ignore Steve for the moment. And again, one more time, this is the lick. Okay, so this is how I would transcribe this. The reason I like this one so much is because that very dissonant, if you heard everything that was going on before it was very, very musical. Let me get a few seconds before this. And this is what's going on before it. So you heard a very melodic stuff. There's other stuff going on. And then all of a sudden it gets into that dissonant note. And that dissonant note pulled me out. And I was like, what is that? That's so cool. Against what chord it's playing. And then he got into that little intervallic thing right after it. So after you hear the dissonant stuff, a little bluesy, he gets into a quick da-da-da-da. You'll hear it. That really quick thing. I was like, wait, what is that? Well, let me get back to the space where we were. And what I would do with this, at first, I'm just trying to find out. I'm going to put my guitar on, and I'm just going to try and find out where it's playing. And I knew... I think that's where it is. So this is... I think it's in E flat, and so tuned down a half step. And basically, it automatically sounded pentatonic. And so what I was trying to find is that first note, right? So I'm like, okay, well, it's I'm like, oh wait, okay, let me hear it again. And you hear those two notes, right? You have. And it sounded immediately like kind of like a Hendrixy thing, right? You know, Hendrix goes. He bends up. Let me get my screen on here. So
Dave, lower your camera a little bit.
So the Hendrixy thing is where you're taking the B string, and since we're in E flat, we're down. I'll do it in standard. So your E minor pentatonic. Right, you'd bend that 15th fret up, and then with that same finger, you'd grab the G string. So you're on the B string bending up, and you can grab the G string on the 15th fret and bend that back down. Right? Sometimes they do this, the 15th fret, and then you're grabbing with the 14th fret on the G string, and you can bend down to that note. So and you can get them to ring together. And then let one go, right? So that's kind of a very Hendrixy thing, bluesy, like out kind of sounding thing. It sounds a little dissonant. Well, Shane's doing this thing where he goes, if you hear it, it's not exactly that, but this is what it sounds like. So you could hear the separation of the two notes. It's not blending together, and you have this, and what I do at this point is, okay, man, I want to figure this out. So I'd slow it down, and if I go back to my screen share, you could see up here, this is a program called Transcribe. We'll talk about this in a minute. And there's things up here with speed. There's a running man, active bypass. There's 50%, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. You can go up to 125. There's also an effects thing where if you come over here, you can see that not only does it have all these settings too, you have a slider. So you could slide this up or down. You can go all the way down to 5%. So here's like 50%. And sometimes if I need it real slow, I'll go all the way down to like a 10% or something. And the reason I do that, and it seems really childish, but if you notice right around this area, he bends the note slightly down. Whereas if I do it at 100% or even 50% and you hear that, you kind of hear the two notes, but you don't hear at this point, you do sort of, but you don't really hear where the note starts bending down before he catches that other one. You hear that little bit of a bend right there down. So just goes, it just goes a little down. And the reason why that's important for me, transcribing wise, is it causes more dissonance. Because now you're getting a note that's in tune and it's getting slightly out of tune before it hits that next note. Now, again, all these things are details that you don't need to get into when you're first transcribing this lick. What I'm going to do right now, since I just talked a little about that, I'm going to transcribe just the lick itself and then the follow-up lick real quickly. So it gets you in the ballpark of where you need to be. Then you can go back to all the subtleties. But as you slow this down, as you're transcribing it at 70%, 100%, 50%, wherever you need it, you'll be hearing little things and you'll take note in your head, or at least I do. I'll start taking notes and saying, okay, wait, I hear some slide there or something that I'm not getting, but I still want to rough through this, get all the notes, and then come back to, and remember those subtleties. And the more you play it over and over, you start hearing different things. So, and then the other thing about this Transcribe program is you can, so say I have this at 70%. Right there. That's all I'll do. You can highlight this to here, and even when you're playing, you can drag it out. It's going to keep repeating, but I could take this thing and drag it. I could drag it to here, right? I'm just holding and dragging. Right? So I want to go to... I'm just going to go to there right now. Okay, now I'll slow it down to say, we'll do 70%. And now I'm going to play along with it. And let me put my guitar on. Oh, I'm sorry. You know, this whole time I didn't have that audio on, the desktop audio. And Steve didn't catch that because the delay is so long. So again, what I was doing with this is, if I drag this thing, it only plays there. If I keep dragging it, now if I go to here, okay, I want to find the spot. This is the spot. Okay, that's where I want to get it to. So this is the amount of notes I'm going to transcribe right now. And I'm going to repeat it over and over again. Let me go to 50%. And now I'm going to play my guitar and do it. And I'm listening for little bends, but once I get that, I'm good. Now I can go a little further, and I'll drag this out. Okay. Now that part, I didn't figure out. I had a hard time with this part right here. I'll play it at 100%. So that little slide thing, that little slide, I was thinking it was more like I couldn't, for some reason, I didn't hear that fourth interval, right? So let me get to my screen. So the way this lick's going, basically, it's bending again. We're in E flat. It's going 14, bending up. It's bending up a whole step. Then it kind of comes down just a little bit before it grabs that flat 5 note, right? If you're in E flat, you're basically grabbing that A note, right? So, which is B flat going back to B double flat if you're in E flat. And I thought he was bending that up a little, but it doesn't sound like he actually is. But in my mind, I would think that tension sitting on that note, you'd want to bend it up a little. But he's doing... So 14th fret on both the B and E string, or I'm sorry, B and G string. You're bending up a whole step, then you're catching that note. Then you're going back down to the 13th fret, 14th fret on the G string. So you're going the fourth interval to the flat 5 to the B string on the 11th fret. So typical pentatonic stuff, right? You're just adding the flat 5. So... And then you go to the 11th fret on the G string. So you have... Then he does this rollover thing, but there's something interesting that happens there. And this isn't important at all, but this gets into those subtleties. Then he goes from the 11th fret to the 13th fret on the G string, back down to the 13th fret. So he's pivoting off of the root note of the D string, back up to the 13th fret on the G string. So you have, right? But if you hear really what's going on very slowly, right here, desktop, and let me know if there's any echoing with this, because I have, as long as Steve's not talking while I have this, I can keep my desktop audio on, I think, but if there's any echoing, let me know. So here's that part, and I'm going to put it down at 25%. Pull it out just a little bit more. I'm going to do 15%. Okay, before that slide, I really want to concentrate on those little pivot notes. Okay, so there, it's not just, he's actually going and doing, he's got 3 notes going on there. He's got the 13 here, down to the 13, back up to the 13, and there's kind of a mix of a pick in there. So you have, It's almost like he's picking down, scraping down to get that 13th fret on the D string, then going up to 13, 13, 13 again. It's almost like it's really, really interesting, very subtle, but that's where all this dirt comes in. And then he literally goes from the 11th fret double barring of the 11th fret, both the D and G string, and slides down a half step. And that is a beautiful dissonant over E flat. You're getting the 6th, and you're also getting the 9th. So you're getting these, which is just something that nobody seems to, people don't slide into fourth intervals enough. It's a very saxophony kind of thing, not double fourths, but so let me get this whole thing again. Put it up to 35%. There we go. Extend this out a little. There we go. One more time. All right, and I made a mistake. So he goes, it's literally that scrape down to the 13th fret on the D string, then quickly back up to the 13 on the G, back down to the 13 here. He never goes back up to the 13 on the G string. So it's scrape down to the 13 on the D, up to the 13, back down real quick on the G to D, then he gets into the double stop. So it's... So it's really, really quickly. Right? Just such a cool phrase. Then he gets into this fast intervallic thing. And again, so that was me working out that idea, but also getting into some of the nooks and crannies of the subtleties, which I that's how I usually take it in little chunks. And then I'll listen to the rest of this, and I'll click, if you notice on my screen, I will click off of this now and get it out of that loop, and I'll play it up to 50%. And the way this is really cool with this software, I'm just pushing the space bar. So every time I want to play along with this, if I don't have the loop on and I have it marked, the section that you're at, wherever you put your mouse at the beginning, it'll always return to that section. That's going to be the start. So if I push the space bar, it stops wherever. And then if I push space bar again to play, it will play at that actual point. So here we go. Then I'd stop it and do it again.
So question for you.
Yep, go ahead.
Let's just say hypothetically, somebody that wanted to learn how to, transcribe, didn't have this program and they wanted to do it on YouTube. Is that a reasonable...
Yes. So that's a good question. And we will get back into that in a few seconds because I'm going to go over that lick that you wanted to learn. And I'll show you how the process is. If I'm just learning off YouTube, I do this where I get frustrated and where I end up using 4K to download that video. Yep.
Yeah, I definitely think too, from just watching what you're doing and breaking it down, if somebody's coming in and like saying, hey, I want to learn how to transcribe, and taking it from the most, simplistic, accessible way, to get into that, that's like the first step. But what you're doing is a higher level. So you know what I mean? Like, I think that's also something that we should definitely
So I'm going to
touch
show
on,
you
for
in the
sure.
next in one of the videos next. I'm going to show you how I haven't transcribed the lick you wanted to learn, and I'm going to try and do it on YouTube, but I'll probably want this looping feature because on YouTube I'm going to have to keep finding that space, and it kind of gets annoying. So you see
It's
how many
annoying.
times I loop and I go back and back, and in order to do that on YouTube, even if you have it slowed down to 25% or whatever you have, you have to use the mouse to find exactly 2 minutes and 11 seconds. It becomes a pain in the ass as you're doing this over and over and over. So then I go, okay, I got to download this on 4K, which I'll show you that, get it into Transcribe. Now I have the freedom to continually do this because, sometimes there are some complex licks that I'll do on YouTube, and I'm like, I just can't do it. My ear's not good enough, and I won't get the subtleties that I need to get. So, okay. So now let me get to the next part of where this lick is. Screen share. There, I didn't hear that before, but I think he slides into that E note, the low E note. I hear that for sure. I think he slides into that, so we'll hear that. Right there, you hear those two notes? So now I will click on and I will slow that down if I have to. He doesn't slide, so there's no slide. So what I'm listening for in between these two notes
You know he doesn't slide.
What's that?
How do you know that he doesn't slide?
That's what I'm going to get to right now. So now I just narrowed it down to these two notes. I thought it sounded like a slide, but listen to these and I'll slow it down even more. We'll get down to like, I don't know, 12%. So now you hear two notes. And you hear a separation between. You hear those two notes separately. I'll stop this. And you hear. Right? And that's basically that sixth interval. It's the 10th fret on the D string. Going down to the low E string on the 11th fret because we're in E flat. So you got your E flat. So that's a sixth interval going down to the root. And you hear, if I repeat this over and over, you hear. I thought I was going to hear. And you hear. You can actually hear it going between frets. Here, I don't hear that. I just hear one note. And then the very next note. We'll play it again. I'll even slow it down to 5% if you need to do that, which is totally fine. So you hear nothing in between those two notes. When the second note hits, it's a clean hit with no noise or weirdness in between. So that is... Right? If you heard any of this, right before that second note hit, you'd hear... Like you'd hear some kind of thing, especially at that slow pace. So this is so clean. And then the interesting is that sounds like a single note, that first note. And it's coming from this. So what he's doing there is when he slides that double stop of, let me get this, turn off my desktop audio for a second. When he slides that double stop down, he doesn't just go to that note. He actually picks that note again. So he goes, right? Even though that note's in there, in that double stop, he picks it again before he goes down there. So the whole lick is... right? And then he gets that. So that's again, none of that subtlety works, because if I didn't pick that note again and I just went to the E flat note, you'd hear this. Right? Instead of... right? Hearing that, it doesn't make a difference. To me it does, because I like hearing those little subtleties. But... okay, so now to the last half of this lick, which gets really, really interesting, and it's pretty quick. This is even simpler, even though it sounds like a more complex lick. And before I do that, Steve, everything sounds good? The audio, there's no echoing or anything?
Only when I talk because of the microphone.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so let me screen share. And then desktop audio, my guitar, and then here's that lick. We'll raise it to 50%. Do 100% so you could hear how cool that is. One more time. It's just a jumble of cool notes, and you're like, what? It just sounds like it's all over the place, and he gets... it's like an arpeggio, but it's not an arpeggio. So, let me get to the spot where that happens. I'll catch it here. I'll put my mouse here. Slow it down to 25% just so I could see where I'm catching it. Catch it there. And you could hear this dirty thing happening before that first note. That's the first thing as I'm about to go into this. The first note is... right? The first note is this. Right? Right? But you hear that little slide, right before this note, sorry. There's something that happens before it. You hear a boom. You hear that little burp. And when you hear that, you're like, well, it's just a muffled note. And it's not, the beginning of the lick starts there. And let me get the next few notes so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So the first... I think... how does it go? That's it. Okay, so the first few notes are... and I'll show you what that is, but listen to the note that comes before that. Again, slow this... the weird... So now I'm trying to find that burp. It might be this E flat. And I'll slow it down really a lot. So it is an E flat. Alright, then I'll extend it out a little further. Right? So you hear that little burpee. And again, doesn't make a hill of beans difference if you're doing it 100% and you hear the whole thing. Goes by so quickly. But to me, that's the cool thing, because his finger was there for some reason, and it comes from after he did that. He hit that note one more time while he was on, when he went down to that E flat, right? So and then you could hear the slide of that first note into the second note. Barely. It goes by so quickly, but if you put it at 25%... Now, the first 3 notes are this. Put it at 15. So you find the note, and this is something we'll talk about in our outline of what to hear and what to think. So if you hear that first note, right? And actually, let's hear the top note, because that's easier to hear maybe for somebody. Right? I'm just playing that note over and over. Now, some people would say, well, where is that? Well, you know already he's playing in this position, right? Right? You got to find that note somewhere. You know it's not a low note. You could hear how high it is. Right? But it's not this high. Right? It's not this low. Right? It's in these middle areas somewhere. So if I try and find that note, say, on the B string, I can, if you don't know any theory, you don't know you're in the key E flat, you don't know anything, just use your ear and play that over and over, and then I'm going to try and find it on the B string. Nope, that's too low. Nope. Ooh. Oh, I just found it, okay? So now I'm just pecking and pawing, okay? But I'm going to find out later on as I transcribe this note isn't where he's probably playing it. He might be. So he might be doing this. Let me show my screen. He might be doing this. Right? That's the note there. Or I think he's playing the note on the G string on the 15th fret. Right? So that's how you peck and haw and find these notes, even if you don't know theory. You're just literally using your ear and going, well, it's not that note. That's too low. Okay. Oh, I found it. Okay. Now you can kind of figure out why that works. Oh, it's an E flat, and that's the whatever. So the one thing I want to see with this is that little slide. So the first 3 notes are this. Okay. It's D string, 10th fret to the 11th fret, and then if you want, you can skip to the B string and go to the 11th fret on the B string. So 10, 11 on the D string, and then 10th fret on the B string. Those are your notes. Right? Now, what I think he's doing, because what comes in the next part of the pattern, I think he's actually doing that B string note, again, on the 15th fret. But what smoothly works with his fingers as he slid down this double stop, his first finger's right here, right? So he can do the 10th fret with the first finger, and then the 11th fret with the next finger. But to actually get to this 15th fret is a very big stretch for your fingers. So that's where I'm like, okay, well, maybe he's skipping strings and grabbing the note here. So that's where that decision comes in. Okay, this is easier. But then as I further listen to this, you start hearing the slide in between the 2 notes. So here's those first 2 notes. Now I'm going to shorten that phrase so you don't hear the 3rd note and you just concentrate on the first 2 notes. You hear those 2 notes? Now I'm going to slow it down to 5%. So you really hear the in-between notes. You hear that little slide. So you can hear, sorry, I gotta stop. You can hear that the notes aren't separated like this. Right? You actually hear the continuous note, but it raises in pitch. You can hear where it crosses over. more time here. Like you hear it slide into that. And it's a definitive slide where you actually hear one note to the next. Whereas if it were a bend, you'd hear this. You'd actually hear the string bending through multiple pitches. It's not just, and it's not this. It's not, right? The difference between hearing a bend and a slide and nothing in between are three totally different things. Now, again, it goes by so quickly that you don't hear it, but this is how I know, instead of transcribing it the wrong way, where you'll see a lot of tab books. I'll take off my desktop audio so Steve can talk if he wants. But in tab books, you'll see the notes right. Like, they'll have this, but they won't have, they'll do it that way instead of the slide or the bend, because unless you slow it down or you have a great enough ear to catch these things, you won't hear those little subtleties. And to me, I want to hear those subtleties and play it the way my favorite guitar player is playing it, because I'm trying to learn his style, what makes him so unique.
So you're hearing, when you're doing that, you can discern the slide. I mean, you can tell generally, like when I transcribed that thing that you had sent me, I think for the most part, I got what I thought was a slide and not a bend. But with this, it's so nuanced because there's just so much going on in there, like sonically, that I think when you're slowing it down, you can kind of really hear it much more clearer. And, I think this particular program gives guitar players a very distinct advantage, versus the YouTube way, which is how I do it. But you really do hear every single nuance. Yep. And, you can hear like, the one thing too I've noticed with Shane after kind of this much analysis and kind of like breaking down a lot of his stuff, he really isn't, and I don't mean this in a pejorative kind of way, he's not a very accurate player. Maybe unintentionally.
I say that all the time. He's got meaty fingers. And it's not Paul Gilbert precise picking accurate. Yeah. There's the grease in between notes. There's slips. And there's slides. He doesn't care if things are a little out of key when he's trying to create tension. It's for tension.
And I mean, like when he does lines and they're like bent up a little bit, like as I'm sitting there and I was working on one or two things and it was driving me crazy. And I'd like slow it down more and more. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so, like you brought up a couple of things. So, and first off, if anybody's watching this, and I see that we have a bunch of people watching.
And New Year Kid, thanks for greeting us from Florida.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions about, tabbing stuff out, transcribing stuff, picking stuff up from here, now's a chance to ask some questions. But for me, in doing this, I really had, when I did my own examples and just kind of doing it, it could trick you into playing in different positions.
Yep. And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to why I'm doing it here as opposed to somewhere else.
It's really fascinating because I'm watching you do this and I'm sitting there and I got so many questions, but I don't want to interrupt you.
So let's jump real quickly on why I picked this area, first of all. First of all, this is a common shape that most people play. When they play pentatonic, they play one of the first few shapes, right? If you're playing A minor pentatonic, you're usually playing on that 5th fret. You might slide down to another position, but you're using that. You may come up to this 12th fret. Right? And then slide up a little. But a lot of people jump from one to another position. There's 5 pentatonics, and a lot of people don't play those in-between positions. Shane is notorious for doing licks in between positions. Now, this one doesn't so happen to be in that right now. At least I don't think. He could be telling me, no, I'm playing it in this other position. That's why I'm getting these movements. But he is notorious to play certain licks in those other 3 positions that most people don't mangle with. And he's getting the flat 5 or the major thirds on different strings, and that creates hand shapes and patterns and pull-offs that you normally wouldn't have. So it's so fascinating when you dissect other players. But again, not only that, I'm also listening for the tone. And this is one thing I was going to go over with my outline kind of thing. So let me get to my shared screen and my guitar. So when you hear something, and I have a dirty tone, so this disguises a little bit. Let me actually get to my thing. So when you hear a guitar, or especially guitar, let's just stick in that realm. But when you hear notes, unless somebody has there are a lot of players like Michael Landau that, let me raise it up just a little. I'm joking. So one thing that guys do, like Landau, he will set his guitar tone a lot of times to his neck pickup. And that's where he dials in his tone. And what you have to do for that, so it's not muddy, is you have to add a little treble to your pedals. You have to add a little treble on your amp. You have to spike things up a little so this pickup can cut through. Now, when you go to your bridge pickup, the offset's going to be, this is going to be very spiky and trebly, right? Most people set their tone up for their bridge pickup, and they get a really good, clean, smooth, silky tone, and it sounds great. But once you go to your neck, it's all thick and like you have no definition. So a lot of real good players will do that trick, and Shane tends to play on his neck pickup a lot. So it's harder to discern what I'm talking about, what I'm about to talk about, when that happens. But when most people play with their neck pick or their bridge pickup, and it's set to that a little more trebly of ability, and it's not distorted like crazy, you will hear subtleties like this. Okay, so if I play this note, if I play this third fret, and I'm gonna try and get. So if I play that third fret with my pick all the way up by the neck, but then I come back down to the bridge, right? Now I go up here. Listen to how woofy that is, right? It gets thicker. So I'm hearing these thick tones and thin tones. And so when I hear this note here, this, what was the, this note right here, right? Now again, that's got gain, but I could play that here. I could play it, right? It's just a chromatic thing all on the same string. I could play it here. Right? I could use the two notes there. I could do it here. I could do it here. The E string. Right? There's a million. You can go all the way up here when you have. Right? You can play it in a million different positions, but you hear how it gets thicker here, and most people aren't loving to play low strings up here, right? So most of the licks you learn, even if you hear those notes, you're probably not going to transcribe in this range. I don't hear really thick stuff going on, right? I don't hear that thick. It's a little thinner and or thicker and muter. It's not this thin string. The smaller the strings are, the more they're down by here, they're thinner. So that's how I discern, okay, it's in this middle range. All those things are happening. I know it's probably a standard pentatonic. I hear the flat 5 in there. There's a typical bend, that first note bend. Right? He could be doing that bend here. It's basically a D flat note, so he could be doing the D flat. And then but then the problem with that is now you're bending. Most people bend with their third finger or their fourth finger, right? So if you're bending with your third finger on that D flat and you're trying to quickly catch that next note, you can't do there because you have to bend that string down. And you'll hear, right? Now, if you want to play it that way for your possibility of coming up with a cool new lick. If you want to ever or slide, right? That's a cool technique. Now you're going outside the realm of learning this lick, and you're actually incorporating into, well, that's a cool way of playing that. He did, you know, whatever. Or if you want to go to the next string here, the problem is you're still going to have to bend that string down, and you're going to have to catch that with your pinky. Because remember, on the B, and there's not fourth straight up unless you tune it like Tom Quayle or those guys where everything's in fourths. You have this weird triangle interval. So now I know it feels better and easier to do, right? Just that little Hendrixy kind of thing. So that's a long-winded way of saying that's why I'm putting it in this position with no visual confirmation of Shane actually playing this lick. I'm just using my ear. Okay? So now, real quick, let's get all out of this lick. Let me do the rest of it, because the rest of it, after that slide, after that weird slide there that you didn't hear, it's just notes, and now you're just trying to figure out where to put your fingers. So, the lick, audio, share the screen, get to 100%. All that series of notes. And now we'll get it to 35%. And I'll even short it to half. Yeah, we'll do this. So now I know he's sliding in. Okay, I got those first three notes. And then I got to find that fourth higher note. Okay, there it is. Okay, then there's a few more notes in between. Now I'm starting to lose track of where I am because I'm hearing all this stuff. So I'm going to shorten it to those three notes. Those four notes, and it's basically the 10th fret to the 11th fret on the D string. Then you're going to go to the 15th fret with your pinky on the G string, and then you're going to hit that 13th fret on the E string. And if you notice what's going on in E flat, if you want to analyze this a little bit while we're doing this, again, there's multiple things, transcribing, subtleties, slides, all this, analyzing what's going on, what's that note sticking out against the chord. If we're playing over E flat, you're basically sliding up for the major 6 to the flat 7 in E minor pentatonic, right? So you're 10 to 11, then you're going to that note, which can be played here, and if you see what that is, that's just your major 5th of E. Right? And then that next note, that top note he gets, what's so cool about that is that's your 9th. In pentatonic, you're getting a minor 3rd and a root, and a 7th and a 5th. You're not getting that 9th. But that's a cool little jazzy note. That's not too jazzy. It's not outside or anything. But you're getting... Right? And if you play it that way, where you go 10 to 11 on the D string, skip the string, 11 on the B string, and then the 13th fret on the E string. Right? But I just know that shape's a little weird, and I know Shane does a lot of stretchy kind of things. So I think he's doing this 10 to 11 to the 15th fret on the G string, and then he's playing that with either the 2nd or 3rd finger. So let's hear that one more time. And let me slow it down even more, because I want to really get this. So I'm going to go down to like 12%. Let me get that long bend out of there. We don't need that. Okay, I'm just going to end there because I want to get those 2 more notes. Okay, so those last 2 notes are the ones that I'm fishing for right now. So let me move the... I'll go to my shared screen. I'm going to move from this So that's where that is. I'm going to move this to get it. There's 3 notes in there, so I'm moving this here. Now I have those 2 notes. Now I got to search for those, right? Let me go up the B string. Right, so he's coming back down to this note here. So he's coming back down to the 11th fret on the G string. So now you have, and that's like a 7th interval drop if you're going from that G flat to the F. But you hear it in reverse, going from this high note, going down to the G flat. So you got, and I just keep doing that because that's a cool little pattern. Right, now I got that. Let me get a few more notes. So I'll go back to this. Start this up. Okay, and that last note's a bend, but there's one more note in between there. So you have, let me get that 3rd note. I'll move this here. Okay. Now, if you see what I'm doing, I notice that, again, I'm not just fishing with my ear. I know I'm in the E minor pentatonic here. So I know these notes are in play. So when I hear him go, I already hear this interval. Right? It's a 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I hear. So I already knew that it was going to that note. Because my ear hears 5ths. It hears 6th intervals very well. It hears octaves very well. There are certain intervals I don't hear all the time perfectly. But 5ths are something I hear all the time. And we'll go over a thing in the outline really quickly of how to know your 6th and 3rds and majors and minors, and you'll train your ear a little better. So once I have that, I have the whole lick, right? And then that last note of the bend, oh well, it's not that note. Definitely, he's not bending that note. So let's go back to the screen share. Let's get this last note in there with the long bend. Okay, now listen to where that bend's coming from. It's bending up there. If we just get where that note starts, right there it starts. I'm going to go just to the beginning of that note. You could hear it starts a half step down. And that's where it bends up. And it bends into that 7th. So basically it's 13 going up to 14. So it's going from 13 on the G string, 14 on the B string, down a half step to 13 and bending back up to where that 14th fret note was. And Shane does that a lot. Right? He'll hit a higher note, go to a lower note, and bend up into that. That's a really cool, bluesy, getting dissonance kind of thing. So let's go over the whole lick real quick in 35%. then he bends down a little bit, that last note. I haven't transcribed further than this, but... Okay, we'll go to there. So the whole lick, I'll play along with it. Okay, so you could hear him bend that note down. He bends it up, down, back up, and then he gets to that note. So you hear that and really what that's doing is going 15 or 14, 13, 14 root note on the 11th fret. So that would be like if you played the lick this way. Right? But he's using the bends to get that smooth 3-note thing. So you have... And then I think he comes back, maybe he bends it. So, that's that lick in exhausting fashion. Going to that. Again, that's just, it seems like a very simple thing that there wasn't, if you listen to that, you'd be like, well, there's cool things in there, but I'll be able to transcribe that in a few minutes. But then you get into it and you're like, man, that took me 30 minutes to transcribe. Why?
Right.
Because of all those little nuances. Because as I transcribe a lick, I discover little nuances and go, oh, what was that? And that dives me deeper in. As opposed to, oh, I know it's just these kind of notes, and I know this note stands out. There's a dissonance here. Cool, cool, cool. Then you start getting into it, and you're like, ah, man, there's so much more. And my fingers aren't right because... man, the first time I learned it here, but now I'm thinking he's playing it here because of this. Yeah. It happens all the time. There was, in fact, one of the licks, hopefully we'll get to, I literally was playing in the wrong position the whole time. And I could not, and this is where I told you, then there was a skip in the 16th notes, and I was like, oh, that's a position shift. And that changed the whole thought of the lick. And then once you get it down, now I just play this over and over and over. So then my last phase of doing this is, let me show you this. I will go to my screen share, and if I were to play after I learned this whole lick, I would go back to I'd get off of this, I'd find the beginning of the lick, which is, back a little, I think I bookmarked this hotkey. The hotkey for this is shift and bracket key, and that'll bring you back to where you bookmarked this, which maybe I didn't bookmark it. That sucks. Hold on. Oh, no, I did. Okay. You see this number 1 up here? There's a little marker. So basically, as you play this, if you push the M key, you get another marker. If you push the M key again, you get another marker. Now, if I use the shift and the bracket key, it'll go between those markers. So there's 3. There's the beginning of the thing. There's 3, there's 2, there's 1. So the back bracket is to the left, the right bracket is to the right. And you can scroll through your markers. Now also you can, if you play and push B, you'll get just these little ticks you'll see above there. And that's how you do, if I were really to do a rhythm thing, if I had this at, say, we'll do 100%. You can do it 100%, 50, 70%, wherever you feel the rhythm. So at this point here, I'm going to start doing how I would tab this out, really. I would go, the marker would be beat 1, the B would be beat 2, 3, and 4, the marker would be beat 2, so I do 1 E and 2 E and... so here, as I'm playing it, listen, you got 1, 2, 2, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now I have all these markers. I have a 6 marker here, and then this one, E, and you could even see in the spikes of where the drums are falling, you could see where those beats are happening, right? So that's how, when I actually transcribe this on paper, those markers help, because I could see, okay, these notes are in between the 16th notes here, right? So I know they have to fit here. So if there's 7 notes in there, I know it, or if there's 5 notes in there, I know it can't be 16th notes, because only 4 16th notes fit in there. So there's got to be some kind of triplet, there's a whole bunch of, that's a totally different story, that kind of thing. But let me get back to the very beginning, and we'll play this. So after I learn this lick, quick, I have to, but I will. So now I'm at this marker, and I would play this lick over and over at a different pace. Now that I know the lick, and I've got it down with all its subtleties. Let me get the marker up here. Don't need it there, but... Okay. So I would play this at, say, let's play it at 25%, 35%. And I don't think I had my desktop audio on that whole time, Steve, so I don't think you were hearing what I was doing with the beats and the rhythms and stuff. So, sorry about that. But you saw what I was doing with the marker. I was marking as the beat happened. But anyway, this is how I would play it. So... one more time, I got lost there. There's a wild double bend on that last note. So now I'd play through that. That's a little slow, but those are getting me to really hear everything, and then I'd repeat it. Now I'd move up to 35. Let's move up to 50 so we can get a little more of a feel in this. We got... And I do that over and over till I can get it to 70%. Now we do. Right? And then you go to 100%, and I don't have to do that. Well, let's do it at 100%, see if I can get it. I think we were at 70. Even, are we at 100? There we are. Okay. Now I'm going to get my volume up. So yeah, I missed that last lick. So I do it again. I push the space bar, do it again. Didn't get it totally. Let's do it again. One more time. Missing it. I'm missing it. I'm not getting that slide into that lick. Here it is. So now I got it close, but I wouldn't be satisfied. So now I'd lower that down to 70% because I'm like, I'm just missing it. I'm missing everything. So now I do it again. Slide. All right, now I'm feeling it a little better. So that's the thing, you know, as much as you think you know something, you got to run through it a bunch of times and really see where you're slipping up. Because I want to learn this lick. I didn't just transcribe this because I thought it was a cool lick. I'm not getting paid for this. I wish I were. But if anybody wants to donate, let us know. Click like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Steve, your audio's out.
I think definitely the most important, for at least for me, in learning this, you know, the notes obviously, you know, you want to get the notes right, but the one thing that I've learned from just kind of, watching you and understanding, I watched that guy Marvin Music, who's got
Yeah.
a really great channel.
Yep.
But he had a whole video about.
Oh, he's higher up on the dick list than I am.
Yeah.
But he's good. I like him.
He had a great video about just transcribing. The transcribe is meaningless if you don't actually learn the nuances, play it without like the tracks. So what I can say just from my own, like neophyte transcribing, like 101 basic, is if you learn a phrase, work on that phrase until you're comfortable and you really have every nuance. Now Dave will rip me apart with what I've got, but I feel confident in that what I've learned is to the highest of my abilities. And so the next level will be, then you take it to your teacher, you take it to somebody that can hear it, that has better hearing, better ears than you do. And then you say like, okay, here's what you're not doing. But I think that if you're not being intentional with this and you're just like learning notes, you're fucking wasting your time.
Yeah, because not only that, you just won't remember it. Like if you're not diving into it in these, you don't have to. But if you don't, for me, I don't remember a lot of this and retain it. And and I'm trying to not only learn this stuff, but get this into my playing. Because if I like it enough to go, holy crap, what was that? And then want to sit down and spend all this time transcribing it, I don't want to do it and then just forget it. And now I've transcribed so much stuff that I have forgotten, but the amount of time I spend working on it and then playing it over for weeks, I'll be playing these licks. Like all week I've been playing these 5 licks and nothing else really. I've just been, and it's just repeating. So even after I have that, and I literally have that whole thing, I won't need the music anymore, right? And I will go, here's my guitar, here's my screen share, no, here's my this thing. Now I'll just be sitting there and I'll just noodle and I'll just go, okay, I didn't do that little thing there, but that's cool.
Yeah.
And then here I like bending that up a little bit, getting a little bluesy note. Right now, I'm just starting to experiment. I like those 4th intervals, so. Right now, I'm starting to screw around with it a lot, right?
Well, but I think that for me, that's the idea with this stuff, is that you like it. So the first one that I did of these really, really like focused, like where I sat down and it took me like 2 weeks to do, is the Sean Tubbs thing that I learned over.
Oh, right. I remember that.
And it took me literally, and I remember sending it to you. You sent it back like in 15 minutes. I was like, you fucking dick. But, like that really started me. But the thing is now that I have that in my brain, I kind of joke around that they become music store licks, but like it becomes kind of automatic and into your subconscious, but you're applying them. And I think, the one thing that I would say is that like, if you're not really if you're just playing the notes and you're really just kind of like grazing over and you're not getting the slides or the bends or whatever, and you put that into your playing, then you're missing the whole point of breaking the stuff up. Because really what you're trying to do is get in that artist's head in terms of what they're playing, and then kind of like hopefully some of that mojo comes out in your own
and these are different things for different levels of people too, because I'm at the point after transcribing so much every day for like 30 years, or I'm close. I mean, I transcribe all the time, and I just love doing it. And now I'm at a point where I just inherently add these slides. I just inherently add these bends from nowhere and unison notes and stuff. So if I don't necessarily pick up exactly what somebody's doing, if I'm just trying to learn a line because maybe I just like the chromatic movement and I don't care if he slides into or not. I mean, if I'm trying to quickly do this, I'll end up learning it, and then I'll add my own little slides or weird bends or things. My technique is I definitely have a flavor of Shane's playing because I've been taught by him, and he was the first person I really looked up to. So some of these things that he does, I do all the time. He loves doing that little fifth, that fifth interval thing, where he goes up a fifth interval, goes down a half step, and bends up. So he'll do the B string on the 12th fret to the 15th fret on the E string, then he'll go back down to that 12th fret, and then he'll go to the 14th fret and bend up. He does that all. Right? It's just a little thing that da 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 da, and he's got that little screamy thing he does all the time. And it's funny, I'm hearing your guitar, and I was like, wait, do I have my other audio on? So these are the things. So let me get into the lick that you did. We you know what?
Yeah, we're going on.
Yeah,
we're going on.
Yeah, we're going quick.
Where are we?
Hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean, let's go for another half hour.
Okay.
So we go like to 2 hours, and then we can always pick this up next week as well.
Okay.
You know, and if anybody watching this, I know we've seen people kind of coming in and going, but obviously, if you're getting anything out of this, please like, subscribe, add comments, questions. If there's something you want to have transcribed, challenge Dave. You know, if it's something that you're not confident in learning or you're stumbling on, put it in the comments. You know, like let Dave help you out, and you know, maybe we can get you on here.
Yep. And if anybody wants lessons or anything or things, help with it. If you want me to hire me to transcribe something, for sure, let me know. I do all that stuff. We're gonna get into the Steve thing. I'm gonna go into this one real quick. I'm not even gonna go through note for note, talk about it. I'm just gonna let you hear what it is. Maybe next week we'll go over this. If anybody's interested, if you hear this and you want to learn this, let me know. I will go over this. I love that this one. I've been playing all these all week, but this one is so fun. This is called Yerba Mate Blues, and I think it's in the Still Motion. It is. I see that thing. So it's off his album Still Motion. Great tunes. Pick up Shane's album. Shane. Yeah, well, everything you hear from him, you will be impressed. I'm telling you, all his albums are top notch. So here is this little thing. Get the desktop audio. I'll let you hear it once, and then I'll just play through it, and I'll talk about a few of the things that I really liked about it. Time. Okay, so I will play that, and is what that is. It's basically, let me get off this pickup. One more time. Right. So the thing that I loved about that, there were so many things. I just like that little melody. It just repeats itself, right? And it's just that Shane does that a lot too. He'll do a lick and he'll go. It's almost like the Paul Gilbert thing where he does that. He'll do octaves of. Right. So you're doing octaves of a lick, and you get more mileage out of it because it's you hear this thing go down and up. It's just this technique. that you can go down multiple octaves. And Shane will do a lick, go down an octave, do a same lick, go down another octave, and do kind of the same lick, but that's where he starts altering. So you get this flow. And so, anyway, the very beginning of it was just really cool. The dynamics of it are great. He goes... But what I didn't hear, which I just heard today when I was lining all this up, he actually bends a note that I didn't hear, which is... So he bends that 11th fret. Instead of going 11, 12 to 9 on the D and G string, he goes 11, bend up a half step, get that 9, and come back down to that 12. So you have, and it's this, and then I thought, then he went into this next lick where he goes, but there's actually other hidden notes in there where he goes, he actually hits the low note. He does this all the time, like you saw in the other one. He goes to a low register and he kind of hides some notes, and he gets... And all that's doing is, this is in the key of E, and he's got... And he's sliding down to the minor third, bending up to the major third. So all those little... You're like, oh, okay, that's really cool. But I didn't hear that orally. And again, we'll go over this another time if anybody's interested in going over it. But that was a stumbling block for me. And then I heard that, and I was like, there's more to this. And that's where I was like, oh, okay. Then I slow it down like we did the process, and I got to that. And then the next part is over an A chord. So the first one is an E. Then it goes to A. Right, and then we can talk about, there's a little melodic minor in the first whatever, and there's he likes doing this Phrygian dominant thing where you get a flat second note in there, where you get that really whatever. It sounds a little it's just one note, and every once in a while I'll throw that in there, and you're like, well, it sounds good, but it's out a little. So that next part is and that thing you could play here. Right? Or you can play here. Down here. Or you could play it up here. Right? So I had to figure out, this took me a long time, and then I think I have it the way he plays it, because you could hear the thinness of those notes and what string is he playing on. It's a little cleaner tone. But again, and I love that little interval. That fifth enter, then he gets these slides in here. And he slides into the 6th fret on the D string, but then he slides into the 5th fret, which is a half step down, and bends back up into that 6th fret. So that's a cool little subtlety. It's like a chromatic thing. And he actually bends that up and down a little. And then he bends up to the root note. You're back on E. Then he does the cool chromatic thing, which this is the part that, again, like I've told a million times, I'll learn a lick and go, that's amazing, and I learn that, and then I learn what leads into it, which is why I started learning all this, because really I just wanted to learn this when I first heard it. Right? That's a long little legato line, but he speeds it up in parts. He goes... He's got a 5-note thing there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So it's almost like 1, 2, and a triplet. We've talked about that before. He does 16th notes where he puts 5 notes, and he does 2 notes as 16th and 3 notes as a triplet. 1 E, triplet. So it's... And there's a little melodic minor he throws in there. So you have your major 7th to your root to your 9th to your minor third. So melodic minor is basically a major scale with a minor third, or you can think of it as a minor scale with a major seventh, right? That's what people think of it. So this is basically your root, D, E, F, then you have G, A. So you have 1, 2, minor third, 4, 5, major 6, major 7, and root. That's your, so you have, then he slides into the second pattern of E minor pentatonic. Right? So that's the whole lick. And what's fascinating about that, even that line, I don't think he plays it the way I play it, where I go, pivots off of there, and comes down that arpeggio. I think he plays it this way. So he's actually stretching his fingers out here. And then he comes down that arpeggio from on the D string, 9, 5, 7, 9. Right? And the reason I say that is because I watch him play and I see him do all these trippy legatos that flip over each other, and they come in those. He always stretches his hands a little more. So the reason why I want to show you that is because I love that solo. And that's one thing that, man, all week I was just playing through over and over. And
dude, this stuff is, you're like you just run through the thing that I always get impressed with is just the way that you're able to break every interval down and just kind of see, like, I wish I had the eyesight for the fretboard and the way that you see things, because that's amazing. I'm sure that also comes with transcript,
it's years of doing it. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because the theory itself, like, it's like, I understand theory and I understand what you're saying, but like when you're doing it and you just like, I'm like, on a small level, I could see certain things. Like when you're talking about that, the fifth and stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, like I see that line, but
right.
Then you're talking about all this other stuff. You're like, I'm like, wow, it's a whole other level. And it's easy to almost kind of get swept up in it when you're just listening to it. So
right.
Again, anybody that's listening, I would say, just because again, I am learning all this myself, take it slow, get comfortable with what and find something that that's achievable, that you can take action on. So I don't know if, do you want to talk about the last thing?
Yeah, we're going to. And I know I'm not going to extend this too long. There's one more I want to go over that's real short that I just want to show people why it was the coolness factor. And then if they want to, again, in the comments, let us know before or after this video. We will go over this again. If not, I'm going to move on to other stuff, because once I learn this stuff, it's for myself and Steve, basically. But like Steve was saying too, with this is all a little more complex stuff. If you want to get into this, just learn an Eric Johnson thing. As complex as he is, it's a lot of just pentatonics. So if you just slow it down, if you want to learn a quick pentatonic thing that's so cool, if you slow down Eric Johnson's lines, you could figure it out, because most of it's just those notes that you already play. It's just the patterns in which he's doing it. And then if you're using it off a YouTube video as opposed to just an audio clip, you can use visual representation as well as your ear. So a lot of times I'll transcribe things and then I'll watch, like I was transcribing a Paul Gilbert thing, and it was just audio. It was off of an album he did. And it took me weeks to find a video of him playing it towards the camera, because he was always with his back when he was playing it, and I could not figure out how he was playing that line. I found a sneaky version of it, and I realized I didn't see exactly what he's doing, but I saw that when I was transcribing it here, he was definitely playing it towards the 12th fret. So when I was playing it on the higher notes here, he's playing it here, and I'm like, okay, you know what? My transcriptions. And so you can use those little visual cues. You don't need them, because again, you could play it wherever you want. Wherever you find, if you find an idea you like, you transcribe it, you get it 90% there. That's better than, it's amazing. And it helps your ears, like Steve's saying. I know and can talk through these things pretty quickly because I've been doing it for so long, but I don't know the fretboard as well as it may seem I do. Like, I know this lick because I've been playing it for a week straight. So I've already analyzed the melodic minor part, the interval part, the what it's doing over the chord part. And when you transcribe things, some people will just stop at knowing the notes and then just playing it, right? You don't have to get in as depth as playing the intervals. You don't have to get in as crazy as all the other things I'm talking about. If you learn the lick, cool. That's it. You know, Alan Holdsworth didn't know scales. He just named them whatever he wanted, but he heard what he heard in his head, right? So all these guys that Eddie Van Halen says he didn't really know that much music theory. I think that's kind of a little bullshit. He knew how to play piano and this and that and everything. I think he knew more than he went on to. I think that's more lore and tale. But you don't need it all. But it's fun. For me, this is super fun. So let me get to that other lick real quick. Which one is this? Okay, so again, that was Yerba Mate Blues. If you guys want to hear me actually walk through that and put a tab up, and you guys, if you want that, let me know. That's another one. This is the last one. This one I love. This is a fast lick, and this got me crazy, dude. All right, so desktop, screen share, and this one is called Buckshot, and this is kind of at about 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Again, he does everything real cool at 3 minutes of 40 seconds of a 4-minute song. This fast lick, I like the fast lick, but then I like the very beginning part of this bending. That was fascinating. So here we go. And I love that rhythm. So as I learned that fast lick, the beginning bending part really got me, and I'll talk about that just briefly. And then that rhythm's so funky, and it flips itself in so many ways that it's so hard to play unless I write it out, because it's on upbeats and it's crazy. So here's the lick one more time. And I will, this is basically what's going on. He's bending, it's in the key of G. Let me play my guitar real quick. All right, so you have, it's all in the key of G, G minor, right? And get to my screen. I'm trying to navigate all these buttons. Got my desktop on. I got to turn that off right now. So he's just bending, he's going... bending that G minor pentatonic on the 3rd fret. Then he slides up. Then he gets into the fast lick. But the cool part about that bending part is he does this. At first I thought it was just he's bending the 12th fret, and then you could think of this as D minor pentatonic, sort of. You're on the 12th fret, you're bending up, right? You're bending up a whole step and on the G string, and then you're tapping that note on the 13th fret on the E string. Very countryish kind of thing to do. But the way he does it, he gets these out bends where he's going, he bends up, gets that note, then he bends these two notes, the G note again, up a little bit, which is out, then he bends it slowly up. So it's almost like he's walking that, but you hear two distinct, slightly bent. Then he hits that again, and then he does it again. 4 notes. It's 4 times each time. So you have... Then he gets to those notes, and all those notes are bent slightly out of tune. So he has the 11, 12, and 13. No, wait. That's it. So the 13th fret to the 14th fret. No, I'm sorry. B string, 11th fret to the 13, and those are bent slightly up. So it's not this. It's this. You hear the difference? You can hear it slightly up. And then he comes down to that 12th fret and he bends that up a half step. So you have... So you have... Such a cool lick. And then he slides and he goes... He gets this little wide interval. Then he goes... And then that's where this lift goes in the end. So it's it's just so good. I don't know if anybody cares about that, but that I love that. Let's hear that one more time of him playing it.
That's nasty. It's just nasty.
And you could hear that skip in there too, where he goes when he slides up and he goes right? You hear that pause for a second. And I love those chords. It's so good. Dude, he is a master. He's on his game. All right, so let's get to we're gonna discuss if Steve wants to drop out after. I'm gonna go through a whole list of things that of like bullet points of what let me just quick things that I was thinking about, like learning and hearing positions on the neck, which we've really talked about, recognizing players' fingerprints, and like Greg Howe, Richie Kotzen, things they do, Eric Johnson, so that when you do transcribe them, you can figure them out. Tone gives away the positions, that thin, rounder, we already talked about that. Funky rhythm examples. I was going to talk about how, like, when you play funky things, they generally are at certain areas because you're not going to play them on the thicker notes. You don't get that funky skank. So these are all cues, audio cues when you're transcribing something. Ear training, single note. There is one thing I want to do, a little challenge with you while we're playing this. So we definitely have to get to number 7. A single note thing. Then scales versus arpeggios, interval recognitions, matching tunes with certain intervals so that you can actually hear those. Analysis before transcribing software. We already talked about this software. The importance of space. Hold notes out, phrasing, breathing, vibrato, nuances. I just got this whole thing. When I was walking, I was talking about this. So if anybody wants this list, I will actually give you that too. And these are all things to consider bettering your ear training and improving your whatever. So here is Steve, Maestro Steve, with a lick. What is the name of this song? I emailed it or I told you. Do you remember what the tune's name is?
No, it was like El Cababo Beach or something.
Yep. Was it Cabaldito Breeze?
Yes, Cabaldito Breeze or something like that.
I already had that pulled up. Oh, so that was maybe a different. Do you remember at what time it was?
Yes, around 1:40.
1:40. Okay. Okay, so we were doing 3:40 of that tune just now. That was that one part that we transcribed. You said 1:40?
Yes, sir.
Ah, there it is. Let me mark that. Okay, cool. So, okay, so this is the lick that I challenged Steve with. It's just a cool little lick. Do I have this at 100? So, this is the lick. It's just a cool. Sounds very straightforward, very simple, right? There's not really a lot of meat to it, but it's still cool. And the reason why I had Steve challenge him, because I was kind of tricking him, because I transcribed this, and it took me longer than I expected, because there were a few subtleties in it and a few finger movements that I was like, oh, okay. And there's a few things that tell those finger movements. And I was like, this will be great to see what Steve does with it, because I know he'll be able to transcribe the notes. I just think the fingerings are going to be different, and I have a feeling he's going to miss a note or two, because I did. And then I came back to it, and I said, there's those hidden notes again. There's just one. And the thing with this lick, those hidden notes really make the rhythmic of this phrase work. If you miss those notes, you don't get that rhythmic feel. It feels like an empty space. So one more time, this is the lick. So many subtleties in there with his holding vibratos, bends. This is Steve's.
Totally.
This is Steve doing it, and he crushes it. He does a great job. Very cool. And I like your tone, actually. What are you playing through on that?
That is actually the Andy Timmons, that red Marshall pedal that he has.
Oh, nice.
Into the katana.
Very cool. Sounds great, man. Okay, so what I got out of this lick was the way I ended up playing it was this. I went. So he's getting this unison note, but also he's
messed me up.
Yep. That's the part that I kept coming back to and going, there's more going on. So the first thing I thought was, I'm thinking that's how I first started playing it. I was like, that's exactly.
Okay. So I was there. Okay.
And I didn't have my guitar on right now, so let me do this one more time. This is how I had it. I had. And when I first started it, I was doing that arpeggio, right? So that's basically, it's over a B. It's your B arpeggio. And really, the chords are important.
Logically, that's where it felt.
Yeah.
Yep. That makes it more sense.
So what made you switch to this?
So I went to that where you are doing that is where I went to number 2.
Okay. You took a number 2.
That's where then I went to that. But then I actually moved up to where I ended up playing it, because that last part kept messing me up, and I thought he was playing it actually a little higher up.
Right. So the reason why I went away from this to this was because when he bends that note, I want a strong finger there, and I can imagine he did too. Because if you don't do that, you're going to do. Right. You're going to do your first finger, or you're going to have to pick it here. Right? You're going to have to pick this note here and bend it there. With your pinky.
Let me see the fingering that you did for that line. What did you?
So I'm doing the 7th fret on the B string, and I'm doing an arpeggio from here, here, here. So 7, 4, go to the next string on the G on the 4.
Yeah.
Yep. Then you get that pinky again, and then you get the 6th fret, and you're bending that up a half step.
Yeah. So I moved away from that.
Right.
Only because I ended up going up here. Let me just.
Yeah, move the camera down. There you go.
Yeah. So I forgot what it is because I've been half asleep now. But Yeah.
Okay, so you did this. You actually moved it. Instead of playing on the B string 2 notes, you played on the G string on the 11th fret and the 8th fret, and then you did the arpeggio, which is a typical triangle arpeggio people do, right? You got your root, which is your B, on the 9th fret on the D string.
And my
feels good
process was, well, it felt good, and it seemed logical.
Right. And then you can get it. Now, what ends up happening that made me stay down here was then I heard, so you have, right? And now he's just going down in another arpeggio. So now you have the 6th fret, you have 6, 6, 6. Not the beast. That is the devil.
Right.
So you're doing all those strings on the B, G, and D string. So you have, let me get this. And then you go back up to that 6th fret on the B string. So now the thing that I missed there, well, I don't want to get into the missing. There's still a few things that I missed. Then he goes to, let me hear the lick one more time so I really hear what he's playing. Use the screen share. I'll do Steve's thing and I'll listen to it. So I'm bending it twice. He didn't do that. Okay, so you slid there early, and I don't hear that in the lick. So let me go through the rest of the lick here. So you have, and I'll play. Oh, you know what? And I didn't have the desktop audio for your thing, so sorry about that. So here we go. So you hear a bunch of mush going on in there, in that little section. Now, if I slow that down, we'll go over this. Now you hear that first note as a slide, right? Now what I would do too is to find out where that slide came from. So
that's how I was doing a half step
slide, and that's exactly what it is. So if you go to the program and you slow it down to 25%, you could hear those 2 notes. I'll slow it down to 5%. Right? You could hear the slide in between those 2 notes. You hear the little click of that slide. So let me get it to 70% or 50%. And we'll go. And even let me hear that one more time. So the reason why I also played it here, if you hear this slowly, those first 2 notes have the same timbre. They have the same string tone to it. And then when he goes to the next note, you hear it get a little thicker. So listen to that. You hear a boo. Like it just sounds thicker. And maybe it doesn't come across on YouTube as well, but you definitely hear that in the program. And then there, again, is that thing I talked about. He loves going up fifths, right? And then going down a half step and bending that up, right? That's that same scenario, going up a fifth and bending down a half step, up a half step. So you have... So now this is where that tricky part comes in. So now he plays these notes. You hear that one note 3 times, right? And it's basically your E flat note. So and you could clearly hear in the thing he slides into that last note.
Yes.
And adds vibrato, right? So the in-between stuff, though, so this is where I think you missed a note. When he goes down that D arpeggio, the D flat arpeggio, the 6, he actually hits that bottom note twice. So you hear... Let me get that. And I'll slow it down even more. You hear that second note time he hits it? So that's what I missed. The first time I missed that second one, I was just doing and just holding that note out. But he actually gets,
right.
And the rhythm of the lick has that da 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 da, right? You can hear that. So that's the one note that you also missed too. So when you go, it's not just those two notes, right? It's not 6th fret and then the 4th fret. It's not just 6 and then on the G string. Here, let me show my screen. So the ways to play that is, that's really the essence of the lick. So you have going down that arpeggio. Now, but he never plays 3 notes in a row. Most people don't. So he's definitely playing a unison note there. So you have the 8th fret on the G string to the 6th fret on the B string. Now, in which order that happens is very telling, because right before that lick happens, when he goes up to that 6th fret and down to the next note, whatever that is, he slides into that note, and you can hear it start on the 6th fret, and he slides up 6 to 8, then he plays that 6 on the B string, and then 8 again on the G string, and that's where he goes. Then he pulls those notes off and then slides down. But if you hear that one little thing, that one note where he gets up here and then rolls over and slides up. And that's da 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 da. Otherwise it'd be da 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 da. It's da 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 da.
So tricky.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what gets it so slick and smooth. So let me play this one more time. Actually slides into that again. So he goes. So he slides twice. He gets. Right? I didn't even notice that. I thought he just hit those notes, but and he's getting these slick little slides. So after that, he also gets, if you pay attention to the vibrato, which is very subtle, he does this. Let me get this to, where are we at? We're at, why is it not showing? Oh, because I'm at such a low speed. Let me get this to 25%. Now, listen to that vibrato. I'll play it a little quicker so you could hear that a little smoother. When he slides into that final note, he sits on that note for a second. Then he adds vibrato. You hear that shaking happen late? He gets on the note, settles on it. Where most people would get to it and do vibrato, he lets it sit, stale, and then adds a smooth vibrato. Even that, when he pulls down to that last note that he holds, there's no vibrato. It's still. And then he slides out of it. It's like hold, slide. And it's a very hard rhythm, that thing, because I want to rush that. Every time I play that, I don't want to hold it that long. But if you listen to it, again. vibrato, right? And then he holds that last note with no vibrato, and he slides out. So the whole lick is... Right, so... And I keep wanting to do this. But it's really... So it's... let me see. Right? Super good, dude. Super.
It's so like nuanced, and again, having the benefit of that program, you can really hear things so much more clear and defined, and because when that's the only thing I could say is that, like, when you're using just the YouTube, which is great. Like I would have loved to have had YouTube in 1990
Right.
to be able to slow shit down. I'd have been so far ahead of the curve, now than I am. But it's a great free resource. But having the program that you're using, you really, really, really can just take it to a level, because I'm still relying so that first slide, I didn't initially hear that, but like it started on such an off note, like an off beat, that I'm like, it's just weird. Like it can't possibly start on that note. And I'm like, it needs a slide. And then, so it was more along the lines of, like, I guess my process was, I kind of got the notes. Then I started to kind of fill in the holes and to fill out the nuance.
And that's how it goes. Yep.
And so for me, it really, I guess the lesson for me is like, I just got to do this shit a lot more, and try to do something like this, like once or twice a week. So for me, I think the takeaway is, I'm gonna, I think Shane's stuff, like from his lesson channel, and we'll talk about this other stuff next week. We didn't even get into like a third of the shit that we wanted to talk about. But I think for me, I'm just gonna keep going and watching his videos, because I seem to be just kind of like really picking up on a lot of stuff. And I think the thing too is that if I'm not necessarily getting all the nuances, like every single bit, because he's a world-class player, but if I'm picking up on that, I feel like you got to kind of get yourself into the game to get to a point where, like, then you start hearing everything. And then I think it's just like, you got to do it. I think that's the moral of the story. It's just, I got to do it,
because you have a good enough ear. Again, when you said, my ear's not good enough, again, I know what you were saying, but your ear is good enough after all these years. Like you hear all this stuff. It's just, you've never really slowed this down to those micro areas to find those little pockets and holes where surprising notes are happening. And that's what makes these things less just notes. And it's so vocal, musical. There's little subtleties. And that's what's missing from a lot of these YouTube players. They learn crazy licks. They're doing great arpeggios and really fun stuff. But then when you break it down, you're just like, okay, I mean, that's nothing I don't already know and can't already play. It's just, it's there's nothing going on. There's no nuance to it.
The thing that I just learned from watching this tonight, one was the string timbre. You know what I mean? Like, where you actually, I mean, you knew that, like I think inherently it's just like, I kind of knew that, the G's going to sound different in three different positions, but like, even when you start on it up here, it's going to sound different. So that was one thing that, I kind of learned, but really watching you just kind of like see that stuff. And then like the fifths, I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of see that. And then like I kind of noticed that he does like some similar stuff. So I think the moral of the story for me is that the more you work and transcribe a player, and you start to see the things. So you're light years ahead of me in this, obviously because you studied with Shane, but also you've transcribed so much of his shit that it's almost like you said, like you see his patterns where, like, with a player maybe, like where I've just kind of been watching them, I think like you're right. Like it's like the idiosyncrasies
Right.
of where they're going to start and what they're going to
Like
go
you'd
to.
have an easier time transcribing Paul Gilbert and stuff because you played his stuff all the time, and you there was a phase that you went through with him and stuff, and a lot of his stuff. The reason why I keep bringing Eric Johnson up is because again, he plays amazing, melodic. He's one of the top tier players, but when you take down his tone, which is gorgeous, and you take down his fast pace at some of the licks that he does, it really boils down to a lot of it's just pentatonics or intervals with pentatonics, right? Arpeggios, skipping strings, this and that. But it's really, so when I bring that up, I say that might be an easier entrance route to something. You don't have to go back to somebody playing Mary Had a Little Lamb and try and transcribe that, right? You can transcribe things that you love and think are amazing, but those are a little more accessible because it's just really pentatonics, just at a great speed, very melodic, intentional notes at certain times over chords. Oh, and the other thing real quick I just want to talk about with this lick, we'll make it 1 second because I know you got to go. The thing that I also got into afterwards, what made this lick, and again, this is the rabbit hole that you do not have to go down. You can stop there. You learned the lick. It was cool. You learned a few nuances. Now play that and incorporate it into your own player. You're done, right? But if you want to go further, I want to hear why it's working the way it's working. It's so melodic, right? Well, the reason why is because it is a simple Van Halen. Van Halen used to do this, and Shane loved Van Halen. He would play their stuff. I remember watching him playing I'm the One and all these tunes on stage at AIM, and it was just so much fun. He played Drop Dead Legs, just really great riffs. But Van Halen would do a ton of arpeggios over chords that are passing by. So he's just doing root third and fifth, and that's all that's happening here. These are just arpeggios. If you notice, that first arpeggio is, let me get my guitar going, he's going, right? He's just doing basically a B arpeggio over a B chord. Then the next one is, now he's going over a C sharp chord. So you have this progression. And the first chord is, the second one is, and you're just coming down that arpeggio. Here's the bar chord, you're just coming down these three notes. But you're adding this note, which is your major third, up a half step to the fourth. So you're getting a sus chord there. Right, that's all that is. It's a C sharp sus chord. Arpeggio. So he's outlining the two chords in the progression. And then the next chord is an E flat minor chord. And that's where the next part comes in. So you have, that's B, C sharp, there's the root note of that E. Then you're coming down that pentatonic, and that's just E pentatonic, your root, flat 7, 5, and fourth over E. And you're sliding down to the minor third, raising up a little, right? And that's your blues thing over E. So you have...
It's amazing, dude.
So it's just chord tones. That's all it is.
I mean, it's amazing that you see it that way, because I see it when you explain it, but I never would have looked at that like that. Not for a second.
Right. But that what's great about doing that, going that one step further, you see how simple this stuff is, right? It's not magic. It's just, there are certain notes that work over certain chords because these are the notes in the chord. And if you play anything that's not that, you're going to get weird dissonance. And our ear in Western music is you want to hear soothing, nice things that fit in order. If you go to any European or if you go to, where they're playing Hindu scales and all this, there are certain regions where they play microtones. Jason Becker and Marty Friedman got into this, where they're starting to play, and Sean Lane, and you're playing microtones in between each whole step note. There's not just a half step. There's a quarter step, an eighth step, but there's notes, and those pitches played at certain ways get you these scales that could have like 16 notes in them, not just 8, right?
Right.
But our ear is so adept to hearing things that, like this Van Halen, you're just playing the notes over the chord, but it's so melodic and beautiful that it just works. You get a few bends and slides in there. So when you're jamming with somebody, if you know the chord changes, just play some little arpeggio phrases outlining those chords. Target the major thirds, whatever. It's really not rocket science, but man, it feels like it sometimes.
Well, yeah, and it's like, I think the key too, like with all of this is like, understanding that, and then kind of almost learning the lane and then breaking out of the lane.
Yes.
But I don't, you know what I mean? But the whole thing about the way that you see this, and again, I know you've said it a million times, it's just really impressive, dude. It floors me that you see it like that, because I think that you have an advantage by doing that. So that's something.
But the advantage came over 20 years of doing this.
Right,
it's not an advantage that's not obtainable. It's not like, oh, you got a gift. I don't have a gift. I worked hard and got it here. And
no, you worked at it. But what my point is that that gives you that ability to see the whole, the whole context of the fretboard, and you can kind of look at things. So I mean, it doesn't make you, I don't think it necessarily makes you or for or against being a better player.
No,
I think it makes you understand kind of like how to connect everything. I that's something where I feel like, I can kind of weasel my way through things, but like, seeing you do that, I'm just like, wow, man, that's and I know, that's a great, you did a great lesson. I learned a lot just watching this stuff.
Well,
I think, thank you.
I appreciate that. And I just love this. I cannot, a buddy of mine told me I was talking about, and by the way, I was going to show you these things because I haven't done a liquor thing real quick. We were sponsored by nobody but me, but I found these Dasher bottles and I put like print out stickers. Like, this is my Peychaud bitters.
Okay.
I got my Angostura bitter one. And what's great about these Dasher bottles, if anybody knows, when you get those, the bitters, they have a top that when you dash it out, so much comes out, and sometimes so little comes out. So when you're putting one or two dashes could be 5 or 6. This does it evenly. So when you dash these things out, one dash is truly, I've measured it, one dash. And so if you want one dash, they call for one dash, you use 3 of these, which will equal the one dash, but sometimes the one dash on those isn't really a splat. Anyway, I just love all this stuff. And then I found these spritzers. Basically, they're perfume bottles. And you put my anise in here, my Pernod, and you basically spray it around the rim of the glass. So if you want to coat it with like a licorice flavor anise we're talking cocktails here, which I'm so into, you would look, Jimmy Baseball's talking about cocktails. We got a fan now. I got a brother. So basically, the instead of putting the Pernod in there and scooping it around and then throwing that out, right? You actually spritz it, so you're not wasting all of those bitters or all the liquor, because Pernod's a liqueur. Anyway, so I'm fascinated about all those things. But
I'm telling you, dude, you missed your calling.
No, I like this calling. But my point was with that, I was telling a buddy of that when I was playing tennis with him. I have too many hobbies. So we're playing tennis, and he's into drinking too and cocktails.
You would have been a great mixologist, man.
Thanks, man. Probably would have been richer. I would have been able to afford my bills. So when I was telling him about that, he said, dude, you get excited, because I was telling him about this little perfume bottle. He's like, you get excited over the littlest things. And I realize I do. I'm a child. I know this. And so this guitar stuff, I'm so excited about it. And the great thing about 30 years of doing this, I can transcribe this stuff much quicker because I'm better at it, not because I'm a better player. And I've said that before. I remember I was hanging out with Josh Smith when we were doing the lesson package. If anybody wants lesson package, we got them on the website and all that kind of stuff. Try and find the website. Good luck, but ask me where it is and I'll let you know. But they're amazing lesson packages. Josh Smith, Alan Hines, and Josh. We were at a point where Josh was playing with Scott Henderson a lot, and here at the Baked Potato and a few other places. And I was showing him the video and I transcribed something, and he's like, "Man, it's like I don't understand what Scott's playing." And I think he was being a little more humble, but I told him, dude, I understand everything he's playing. Like I hear when he plays melodic minor, I hear when he does a chromatic pattern that I've already transcribed. That's not the same, but it's similar. I hear when he's doing certain tricks with the bar, and I'm like, oh, I know where he's going next. And it's not exact, but I know, and it all came from doing these years of But then I told him, but I can't play any of it. Like I can't ever, if I'm improvising, I could throw in some of these licks, but I can't generate enough of that in a conscious stream. I could play a thing here and there.
Well, let me ask you this. If you took the same 20 years where you transcribed,
and this is where I was getting. Yep.
And then you were jamming.
If I was just jamming, I'd be an amazing player, I think.
So it's
because I don't play. Like, I don't jam over backing tracks. I don't do any of this stuff. I'm transcribing and learning, and then I hear another lick and I go, oh, I got to learn that. And it's that ADD thing.
What's your value? What do you think your value is? Is it the transcribing, or like?
I just have fun again with that ADD. I'll hear something and go, I got to learn that. I have so many videos on hard drives that I've saved that I want to learn things from that I don't even remember. I go back. If you look at the YouTube channel that I have, with the 3 years of videos, I was so passionate about each one of those learning things. I go back and I go, oh my God, I transcribed the Michael Brecker thing. I forgot about that. But I was so excited about that. So the passion is, I got to learn this. I just want to learn it. That sounds so cool. Why don't I know how to play that? But then I don't put it into practice because I'm not jamming over things.
Right. So you're not really, you're playing it, and you've for that moment, you've encapsulated everything.
Yes.
But then at that point, it just kind of goes into the ethos because you're not applying any of it into jamming. And so really the next step is to put it into some kind of application, where it's cognizant.
To actually take time, and instead of learning, like you saw, I learned in this week, 4 pretty complex Shane Theriot licks. Yeah. Instead of doing that, learn one. And use at the end of the week 2 days where I'm just incorporating and jamming, and then go. That's probably the smarter way. But as I'm going on a walk, listening to something else, I go, I want to learn that. I got to learn that.
Yeah. Well, there's ways, I guess, where you could just not do that and
Shane said it the best. He has, in fact, anybody listening, watch Shane Theriot's YouTube channel. You'll get so much out of it. He's gotten really good at it, and he's always bringing up relevant topics. A lot of them are more about like live performance and things you won't learn in lessons like this or anywhere else, because he does it every day. He's on stage, he's whatever, and he'll talk about those things, real gear issues, real everything. And then he shows a lot of cool ideas and licks and stuff, and he's written some books. But one thing he talks about is, and I never have done, but I've heard him talk about it since I was at music school and he was my teacher. He said, use a timer. And I'm like, I just want to learn. I'm going to sit here for 8 hours today, so I don't need a timer. But he says, use a timer. 20 minutes of working on this scale and nothing but else, Yeah. And then don't do that. Do not do that. Don't go back to that. Move on to the next thing.
Yeah. See, I do that only because I don't have time.
Yes.
So
yep.
When I play from like 5:30 in the morning until about like 7 o'clock because I have to leave for work or I gotta start getting. So I will take 10, 15 minutes. So that's what I did this morning when I got up. So I got my hands on the guitar at 5:30. And so I knew I had about like an hour and a half. So like the first 15 minutes, I was working on that thing that we were talking about earlier this week, that Shane lick. And then I'm like, oh shit, I got to learn this thing that you had asked me that we just discussed. And so I did that for 20 minutes. And then I stopped for 15 minutes, got some coffee, hung out, talked to my wife. And then I got back on the guitar.
You got to skip talking to your wife. That'll buy you some time.
Yeah. And then I got back in but like, again, 10, 15 minutes, that was something where I saw him do that. And he got that from MI, because that was an MI thing.
Yes. I think Howard Roberts or somebody was talking.
I had that same thing was something that they definitely preach there. And it was something that I took with me, because it makes you actionable and intentional with your practicing. Because again, like, you could sit there and, like you said, you're like, oh, I got 8 hours today, man, and I'm just gonna, but so in a weird way, it's kind of the same thing. Like when I go to the gym, I don't go to the gym for like 2 hours. I go to the gym, I'm in and out in 40 minutes.
Right.
And I'm not sitting there fucking around, bullshitting, stop it. Like it's very intentional. So I think, like, practicing and learning and being intentional, and that's not just for this, it's for anything you do. You don't need to spend all day on things. So I wish I had more time, because then I would be I'd be further up in terms of everything that I'm passionate about. But yeah, I that definitely, I think I've heard him say that, but that wasn't the first time. It was definitely an MI thing, because I practiced that on a smaller level.
So next week, we'll talk about, anybody watching, please like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Like I said, let us know in the comments if you're getting anything out of this. It really helps us. Talking to a void sometimes, we don't know if we're just doing this for ourselves, but if you guys are really into this, let us know. Give us a thumbs up here or on Facebook. All helps the algorithm, but it's not about the algorithm too. It helps us decide whether, we spent 2.5 hours on this. Is it worth it? Or should me and Steve just talk behind the scenes about this and do it quicker? I'm trying to break this down in a way that everybody can get something out of this. So let us know. Please do communicate with us. And Steve, next week, if anybody wants to know, maybe next week we'll go into a few more of these Shane licks. There was one video he was doing that I never transcribed. I wanted to do it live so you could see me actually walk through a real live video. How I try to do it on YouTube. If I get stumble, I'll bring it. I'll download it. What program I use.
I'd like to see you do it with the YouTube video. I would like to see you do it, not with your...
and I'll show you the struggles of why that I don't like doing that all the time. But when I'm lazy and I don't want to pull whatever, I'll do with that. But I also want to do a single note thing with you. There's a recognition thing and intervals and stuff, and I think we can actually manage that the way we have it. If you can get your audio hooked up like you did before this thing, that would be even better. And then also there's a whole thing that I'm going to turn into a PDF with so many ideas of what helps transcribe, things that you might want to know. We talked about that earlier in the thing. I will get you that. If anybody wants the transcriptions to this, let us know. I will get that on our Patreon page. If you want the link for the Patreon, let me know. I'll do all that. Anyway, Steve, one thing I did want to talk before you went, because you brought it up and I'll forget next week. What was that guitar? I don't understand. Where did that come from?
I've had that for about 15 years.
It's really?
It's a Hammer Standard. I traded a Yamaha. I don't know if you remember, I had a Yamaha, pink Yamaha. They were kind of like Jackson clones.
Yes, with a white fretboard, or what, with the white pickguard.
And it had the shark tooth inlay. They were. It was a good guitar. It had a Kaler on it, but I never gelled with it. So somebody I knew was trading this Hammer.
You're fighting that camera bad.
Yeah, well, it's because I just picked up the amplifier. So I'm hang on a second.
Technical difficulties at the last hour.
I know, it's like the last minute. And I'm also on the delay, so I'm watching the delayed version. There we go.
And by the way, real quick, Ed Clo 10, what's up? How do you know? How do I know you? Somehow I know you because you know more about me than you should. And Jimmy Baseball, I have a feeling I know who that is now. I miss you, man. I miss you, brother. Go ahead, Steve.
So,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So as I was saying, I had that. I basically had that RGX for a long time, and then I just said, you know what, I'm done. Somebody was trading the Hammer, and it was like a straight up trade. and I don't regret it, man.
Dude, that's a great guitar. Hammers are great. Shane was endorsed sort of by Hammer. He was endorsed by Yamaha, but then right before he left, he was getting a few Hammer guitars. And if you notice, he plays a green green Strat, and it's shaved off on the neck of the logo. I think he did that because he wasn't endorsed anymore or whatever. It might even be a different neck on there. I don't think he had 2 of those green ones. And years back when he was with the Neville Brothers, he was going to give me drummer from PL. PVL. I don't know what PVL is. Oh, am I supposed to know? Is that an inside joke? No? Okay. Anyway, I got to figure this out. So then so he had 2 of these green Hammers, and I love that one. And he was going to sell me his other green Hammer, but I just never pulled the trigger on it, and I think he ended up telling me, he's like, that one I didn't gel with it as much. And I remember I really liked his, but man, he's been using his Hammer for years. And I've been searching, because I forget what those are called, but they're really good Strats. And Hammer made great Tele Strats, and that one that you have, I remember, I don't like Flying V's. I had an Ibanez one when I was growing up as a kid, and I missed that one. But I just don't like weird shaped guitars because they sit weird. But that one that you have, I love that sunburst. I love everything about that one.
No, it's funny because my friend Mike that just passed away, back in December, he was like, he's just like, dude, he goes, I want you to will me that guitar. He's like, I want that guitar. It was like, anytime he would come by, he'd be like, I love that's, he's like, of all the guitars you have, that's my favorite guitar. And then he'd play it, and it plays.
Oh, that's funny.
Amazing. It's such a good guitar. Nice. The only issue that I have with it is the access on it is a little weird, like on the upper register. It's like a little tricky, but it's such a non-factor.
Right.
Such a great, let's put it this way. I have a YouTube video where I'm playing like Racer X solos with that.
I remember that. Yeah. Okay.
So
nice, dude.
It's a great and I think the only thing I changed on it was I put Seymour Duncan SH14s in it, and I did put locking tuners. I don't know why. I just was like, screw it, I'll put them on.
Right.
And that was the only changes. That was more when I was a little more dumb, where I thought like I had to do all this stuff. But don't worry, you're still dumb, buddy. Oh, I'm very dumb. The one guitar that Shane plays that I love is that Hammer Tele that he has.
Yes.
Like
the yellow one. Yep.
Yes. And I'm like, oh, that's such a cool looking Tele. And but the thing too with him again is that, like, I've seen, where he even says it, he goes, doesn't matter what the guitar is, man. It's just,
and that thing's got a baseball bat neck. That thing is like Hammer. And Hammer, again, Hammer made. There were some years where they made things where they were okay, and I think he just got lucky and found 2 that were beasts. I mean, he's been using that forever. And by the way, Ed, I know who you are, buddy. PVL. All right, now I know. I think we were supposed to go see Rush, but I think they already came out here in LA. He messaged me we were going to go see Rush, and I think if I've got the right person.
They already came. They already came through. So.
Yeah. I miss you, Ed. Contact me. Text me. Let's chat. Let's actually chat. And all right, listen, we've been on to 2 hours and 40. We're killing it.
We're going on 3 hours tonight, man.
Ed, text me for sure. Everybody, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got a lot out of it. And if not, we just won't do these. We'll go back to the hour ones where we're talking about alcohol and our daily rants.
And birding. Yeah, birding and alcohol.
All right, brother. You have a good weekend, and we will chat. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.